the little spark in my head,
Yeah.
planted the seed
The
for travels. So again,
I was like
it's
blown away, basically. Like it's so. Hello and welcome to Part-Time Nomad podcast. On this episode, I will be talking to Roel Bremmers from Mosko Moto. This guy have traveled around the world with a motorcycle, and he's the guy behind Mosko Moto Europe. On this episode, we're gonna talk with him about packing for the adventure. So grab a beer, coffee, or a tea, or whatever, and let's start the episode. This is actually tea, by the way, no beer for me now. Yeah, unfortunately, this is tea. So
I ran out of coffee, so I might have
yes,
to make another
yes.
one at some point.
So I think we can start. Yeah, I think we can start. So welcome, Royal. Um, so today I think we're gonna talk about packing for adventure. And before we start, I think we can touch a bit in your background of riding. So like we met in during the Outdoor Scout, and you know
Exactly.
what you expect from like a salesman, international sales manager from a company. I didn't expect that you have traveled so much. Like obviously I thought you're into bikes, you like riding bike, but like as we started to talk and you're saying, oh, like I have been there and there, and it's like, wow, like
Yeah.
you have a lot of experience basically, and I think you're the perfect guy to talk about packing.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I have traveled a little bit. When I got my motorcycle on my 21st birthday, which is when you can get your heavier bike in the Netherlands.
Yeah,
Yeah, I started riding right away. We went to Nordkap with my best friend, and that was a 5 week trip.
that was your
And
first trip with a motorcycle, yeah.
exactly. So just
Ambitious,
take it to
ambitious.
Nordkap and then come back down to Finland and the Baltics, and yeah, back home. And that trip actually started, the little spark in my head,
Yeah.
planted the seed for
The
travels. I met an American guy that had been traveling around the world at Nordkap, and
yeah.
his stories were just like, I was 21. I was like, wow, I want to do that too. It took a little bit longer until I started myself, but I think it's my 26th birthday. I left on my world trip, and the idea was to go to Australia overland from the Netherlands, so basically to East Timor, and then ship to Australia, and then find a way back. But I quickly realized that my newly gained freedom that was very special and that I enjoyed it a lot. So I decided to change the dream of going to Australia with a motorcycle to traveling around the world with a motorcycle. And then before I knew it, with working on the road and traveling, so for example, 3.5 years in Australia.
What did you do back
It,
then? You said you were working on the road.
yeah,
What did you do back
in
then?
Australia, I started. I basically made it to Australia with. I could still borrow $200 more from the bank and no more, so I had to get work right away. I started for a removals company. Aussies don't work on their weekends, so that means you can make a lot of money if you do want to work in the weekends.
Yeah.
I did that to get back on top, and then I started working for Paspeli Pearls, so at a pearl farm. They flew me in float planes to very remote places. If you look behind you on the map, it's like northern Australia near Darwin. So the Kimberley, Arnhem Land, stuff like that, where you cannot even really come as a tourist. That's where I worked.
Yeah.
Awesome experience, really tough work, filthy and physically demanding, long days, but it got the money in. And then I worked for wineries, I worked for dive schools, I worked for Harley Davidson in Perth. So basically, because you're traveling, you really want to work at some point,
Yeah.
and they pick up on that, so you can get jobs anywhere you want. Um, so that's how I saved up money again and decided to keep traveling, and that's when I did North and South America and kept making wine on the road. So I learned that in Australia, and I worked for wineries in Canada and the US and
Okay.
Chile. So that's how it happened. And in the end, it was 11 years that I was traveling. And then in the last years, so during my trip, I was doing a presentation for Overland Expo in the USA.
Yeah.
And at that expo, I met Pete and Andrew from Moscow with their first prototypes. So first prototypes in hand. And we met at in the parking lot when we arrived, and we had a good chat. And that was the first time I actually considered soft luggage for my trip, because before that the stuff just wasn't up to the challenge. And then I changed to Mosko Moto bags and rode another 2 years for that. And at some point, I made the big mistake to tell them, "Hey guys, I'm getting more questions from Europe about the Mosko Moto luggage. You should do a show there, and you should show the people what you've got." And they said, "Well, we would love to, but we don't have time for that. Would you like to do that?" That's basically when I thought, okay, I can take another 3 months break and do these shows because they're all in the beginning of the year, and then keep traveling. But then it quickly dawned on me that I do have a business background. But after 11 years of traveling, basically that resume is in the garbage bin. But that resume combined with my travel experience was actually perfect for this role. So this was just a challenge that I wanted to take, and it just goes well with my lifestyles and my ideas about motorcycle travel. So it's really the perfect job for me. It shows that if you follow your passion, that things will get on your path, and the right thing will get on your path. So yeah,
you were the person who started all of the Moscow stuff in Europe, yeah. So basically, and
yeah, exactly.
And yeah, and like time, like how many years ago was that?
I think it's 6, 7 years now. Now six
Ago, yeah.
years, I guess. Yeah.
And so basically, how does your day look now?
I don't have a typical day because I'm out and about a lot. Still traveling a lot, but for different reasons, for a lot of events. So I just came back from Australia for a month of events, but also travels and getting to know Australian riders and figuring out what they need from our luggage systems and apparel. And just making sure that we are focused on that market and just see how we can make motorcycle rider lives better over there. But that's basically my life. So that was a month. Now I'm back for a few days. Then I'm gone again. My life in January, February, March is just shows. So basically, I'm home 3, 4 months out of the year, and the rest I'm on the road, going also to our distribution center, working with our teams all over Europe. So now I'm home for a week, which is very nice.
Oh, that's exciting. So,
It really, well, it is, but then there's a lot of work that you have to catch up on at home. But yeah, I chose for that
but you still
lifestyle
have a
now.
chance to ride your bike, yeah, during the trips when you're going. Yeah, so I
Yeah,
follow you
exactly.
on Instagram. So yeah, I see you're traveling with bikes or horses sometimes.
Yeah, I do have a horse. It gets well looked after when I'm not here.
Yeah,
But no, the motorcycle is just the best way to
yeah,
travel, to get from A to B. It just makes the experience so much more intense, and you remember it so much better than traveling in a car.
yeah,
So no, I love it. It's just good for the soul. So I will ride as much as I can, but I'll admit I don't ride as much as I would like to.
yeah,
But yeah, that's the side effect of traveling for 11 years. I see that as sort of a retirement, even though I worked
yeah.
in different parts of the world. It's I have to catch up on life now, and working for Mosko Moto is an enormous challenge to grow this brand in Europe. But yeah, it also means a lot of work, and yeah, it's just what's needed right now. And hopefully, eventually, I can ride more bikes again. But
You never know.
where I
Maybe
get to
you're gonna
ride, I
go.
really ride in
Yeah.
beautiful places like last summer in Latvia. It was amazing to ride there again. Now Australia, my backyard here in Spain is heaven. So when
Yeah.
I ride, I just love it.
So you mentioned that you went to Australia to see like what are the requirements for the baggage, like for the luggage there. Like, is there differences between like luggage requirements like in different continents, or maybe like what have you noticed? Like, obviously there
No, I
isn't
think
huge difference. It's just like the riding style, probably that
yeah, exactly. It's riding style. So knowing what people do, Like for example, let's take Germany. They can't ride off-road in Germany because of regulations. Hardly can.
Yeah,
So they will travel a lot to get to where they can ride off-road. So that means they need more equipment to go there, and they pack a bit bigger normally.
yeah,
Then there's other places where, like Spain, for example, they don't like moto camping. They like their luxury, so they'll take a hotel. So that means they will take a lighter luggage system that needs less space to pack all their underwear basically and a new
yeah,
shirt. So what every market has its own, every country
yeah.
has their own style basically. So you see certain products go more to one country than the other. So what is the Australian style? Do they travel a lot and camp a lot, or do they love their dirt bikes and do they just get out Saturday afternoon and go for a spin with the guys and girls, and then go back home again? So they just need to bring a tool roll, some extra fuel, some water,
Yeah.
and some tubes, and that's what they need. Where I think we are, for me as a Dutchman, I think we have bigger luggage systems because we need to travel further to get somewhere where we can really enjoy nature and mountains and stuff.
But do they camp much in Australia, or
Oh,
that's
the Aussies love their camping, but more so car camping than bike camping.
okay?
So yeah, you'll see a lot of utes or pickups, but they call it utes, with bikes on the back, and so they go somewhere Saturday afternoon and ride.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a lot of travelers as well in Australia. There's just such wonderful tracks, pretty extreme. So yeah, you need some tough gear there. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a huge country as well, and
it's
obviously, like,
massive.
yeah. So there's lots of things to explore, and it's so different as well to from Europe. I would say, like, yeah. So
Yeah, exactly.
so yeah, talking about the luggage, like the packing tips and tricks, and you probably have seen and know many things, but I think we could start with the negatives. Like, what are the most frequent mistakes what people do when packing?
Hmm. Well, I think there's still, let's start with the beginning. Of course, worked for a soft luggage brand. I think there's still too many people that take a risk with going a bit more extreme off-road with metal boxes.
Yeah,
And there is just a big risk for your body, which is the most expensive thing you have. Just getting those things on your ankles or your lower legs and breaking them. And this is not me just putting a sales pitch out there. No, this is me actually meeting people at shows on crutches that have had that experience. That's so. I think if you touring off road, great, then metal boxes can still do their thing. But if you're considering going a little bit more off the beaten track, let's take the TED. Also in Latvia, you have some loose sand stretches. It's just a risk, and I think that's a biggie. For me, that is almost an irresponsible choice by now. With the development in soft luggage, and we see all these brands are bringing out soft luggage, so they understand that there is something to it. Um, Packing, there's no packing mistakes. Everyone packs their own thing. Everyone has their own methods. Everyone brings their own unique thing. More and more people bring chairs where others are like, that's ridiculous. You can sit on the ground. Um,
yeah,
so those are all choices. And it's again not a mistake, but I what I see a lot is, and what I did myself as well, is people tend to pack their camping gear in their top duffel, and it's all together in one bag because somehow that makes sense. It's easy.
yeah,
Whereas there is a lot of stuff in that camping gear that can be used as a pillow in your bag on the side. So if you drop the bike and your leg ends up under the bag, instead of having your tool roll down there with metal hard parts in it that arrives on your leg or ankle,
yeah,
you could also just have your sleeping bag in that bottom corner. You don't need it during the day, guaranteed.
yeah,
So why not use that pillow effect and have that there? Some people will then say, yeah, but all the weight should be down low. I kind of agree with that, but I think not many of us, some yes, but not many of us are that good riders that they notice the difference of that kilo being in the back or in the front.
yeah. Especially if you ride
Um,
a heavier bike as well. Like if you, take a
Exactly. A
7 or 6.
1250 or a T7, they can all handle that weight. There's absolutely no problem with that. You got to ride really sporty to notice difference. And there is, again, this is a choice. So I don't want to upset anyone. Everyone makes their own choice. Some people want to ride sporty and want to be lighter. If I ride, I'm not doing a Dakar or a competition. I want to be in nature, and that bike is my way to get there. I want to look around. I want to see the animals. I want to, see what's happening around there and take it in. So I don't need to go fast once I'm packed up for camping. Um, so it's again a choice. But with that camping gear also comes the tent, for example. And this is something I've learned while working for Mosko. We have a tent pole back in our rackless systems, and that's actually just really smart to just put a harder item somewhere on top where it can bend or break if you crash, and just push the tent together
Yeah,
in the other side back in the corner, so you have another pillow for the other leg. But what a lot of people do, they get the tent, and the tent is rolled up around the poles, and that's what they always do. They just copy that and they put it in the luggage system. While riding off-road, everything moves, it vibrates,
yeah.
so you got this really thin tent rubbing
Really
non-stop
difficult
on
tent
these
poles, yeah.
poles, creating little leaks. So yes, if you're a backpacker, great, just roll it around the poles and put it in your backpack. But there's not as much vibration if you're hiking. So on a motorcycle, especially on a single cylinder,
Yeah,
there is a change there. So let's be aware of what we do, our sport, and take these poles out of there and just jam that tent somewhere where it fits. Also, if you don't have a round item, that means there's no spaces around that round bag that you have to fill up. So now you can just squish that tent all the way in the bottom. Again, you don't need it during the day. So why not leave it there? This is just to get some people thinking, maybe. A lot of
yeah,
them will not agree with me, but that's how I pack nowadays. And I know many of us do that. So the only reason for me to have all the camping gear in the top bag is if you would leave the bike somewhere and would hike up a hill and camp there for a better view. But
yeah.
I can tell you, in 11 years around the world, never done that. I always sleep next to my motorcycle. Never leave my motorcycle alone. So,
Same,
but
same
some
for
people
me.
might do that.
Yeah, I think I have seen some. I actually have seen many videos of people like packing like all the camping gear at the top, and like when I started to ride adventure bikes, I kind of automatically done it in one of the side bags, and it's just easier for me like to pack it that way. Usually I use the top box with water and like food and things like what you need during the day. And yeah, and by the way, like how do you pack? Which system do you use personally?
Of
Like
course, I have the
obviously you use
luxury to
many of
choose.
them, yeah, but like
Um, Within Moscow, we tend to use the Recklesses more because they're lighter. Um, and I have to say that that has been a period that I did that too. Um, just because maybe it's cool, it's lighter, it makes you more maneuverable. The weight is closer to the bike,
yeah,
um, and it's a good looking system as well. But then at some point we needed some, like Pete from US, our founder, he said we need some more content of the backcountry panniers, so our bigger luggage systems. So we decided to ride with that during one of our team rides. And actually, what we noticed is that it's so rock solid on the bike, it just does not move at all. And that is actually very nice for your riding style. Like a
yeah,
reckless system will always move a little bit, and the backcountries will not. So since then, I'm gravitating towards the backcountries again because it's just so easy to pack them. So top loading instead of like a dry bag that you stuff
yeah,
into a holster, a harness. Um, and I just go for that. I don't care about 5 kilos more. I ride heavier adventure bikes, and they can easily deal with that. And for me, also the ease of having liquids on the outside of the backcountry panniers,
yeah,
my whiskey bottle, but also my water, of course. If you crash and you break any of these containers, um, then at least your dry stuff, including your sleeping bag and all that, is
yeah.
still
That stays
dry.
dry.
So that's for me convenience of travel, and that's another thing I've learned during this world trip. That convenience makes that you last longer. There's people that can do this for a few days, maybe a week, but then they're done. They want to have their normal
Yeah,
bed and luxury. Well, if you are able to bring some more luxury on your trip. Some people will call that bringing the kitchen sink. But bringing that chair actually means you can sit outside and look at the stars for longer than when you do that from a cold ground. Or sitting on top of a side pannier that is not the ideal height and will hurt your back.
By the
So
way,
bringing some joy to that trip makes you last longer and makes you enjoy it more and do it again.
yeah. By the way, did you when you went on your road travel? That was with hard panniers, yeah.
Yeah, I started off with the Hapco Backer Gobi panniers and
Yeah.
a big Zargus aluminum box on the top, which everyone made fun of. And I had packed to the top with everything. Like I left Holland being able to survive for probably 7 days, while my first country was Germany, not
Yeah.
necessarily a developing country. So, it's just that preparation mind you have for a trip, unexperienced as well.
Yeah.
And there was less and less in that box. And at some point, there was so much space, I could just put my jacket in there and my helmet and just lock it up and go into a city without worry. So that was an advantage. And then there was a big map on that box of my trip, and that always broke the ice with people. People came and look at that map, and then you had a conversation, and you were invited again, and that made the trip. Those experiences, getting to know people and cultures, that was awesome. But yeah, these panniers,
But there
yeah,
wasn't
that's
really any options back then, yeah, like any like soft
Mm.
luggage options.
There's been brands around, but I don't think that they were tough enough for a non-stop travel where you're definitely going to
Yeah.
drop the bike many times. So back then, no, I didn't want soft luggage, and I was still afraid of, oh, everyone's going to steal everything, so I need to be able to lock it up. And basically, the experience of traveling teaches you that, well, you're mostly out somewhere, and then if you want to go see a city, then you're taking an Airbnb or a campsite anyway. Your
And
stuff is
find
there,
parking, yeah.
and so it doesn't really matter if it's locked up. But it's a fear, especially in our Western world, where we have
Yeah.
way too much stuff, where everyone's just thinking, no, need to lock, need to lock. Especially nowadays, they'll take your whole motorcycle and not what's in your pannier.
Totally, yeah.
So
And like when you're going on a longer journey, like you look like more or less like a homeless man, like dirty with mud and everything, and it's just yeah. So sometimes the bags are
yeah,
that dirty that no one really wants to touch them at all, like go close to them,
exactly.
and they don't
Yeah, and
don't
then
look at
being sorry.
yeah,
Now, being able to lock them up with a cable to keep the fast fingers out, I think
yeah.
is important. But if someone wants to get in, they will get in anyway.
They'll get
Uh,
in any bags. Yeah. By the way, returning to the rack system, not rackless system, but the panniers, soft panniers
yeah.
from Moscow. Like, are they like much wider than the rackless system? Like, what's that difference? Does that affect your
There's
riding?
there's some space between the rack and the bike, of course. So they're a little bit wider, but still we keep them. We make them a bit taller, so
Yeah.
they're not that wide and not wider than the handlebars. So basically, it does not make that much of a difference.
Yeah.
Is the rackless closer to the bike? Yes. Is the weight closer to the bike? Yes. But I think you can still do a lot. I just did that with the backcountry kit, and it doesn't hold me back at all on a 1250 GSA to go off road and do some extreme stuff. I think it's all skill. I think that's something that we all need to do. Have more training every year instead of getting a physical present for our birthdays. Ask more off-road training, so we are more capable of riding our bikes.
Yeah, I think like you can only feel the difference when you're going on like a tight single track in the woods somewhere, basically where you can catch
Which is mostly not allowed, even in Spain,
yeah,
not allowed.
yeah, yeah. So
Latvia, I'm not sure, but I don't think it's
not
allowed.
allowed. Not like it isn't really. Yeah, it isn't. Like
Yeah,
it's only allowed to stick on the roads. They can be bad
yeah,
roads. They can be like with bushes, but they have to be kind of roads.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
So
yeah,
that's the question then. What do we prepare for that? Like that one single track that we might do,
yeah,
or maybe for that moment, and I've done that in Australia as well. I had to take my boxes off and walk them for 10 meters and put them back on the bike.
makes sense.
So, you know, make sure you set it up the way you want and not the way people tell you how to do it. How do you travel? What do you want to bring? Do you want
Yeah.
to bring that chair? Do you want to bring a pillow? Um, there's so much amazing gear out there nowadays that makes your camping experience so much better, and makes you look forward to being in your tent instead of like, oh shit, I have to camp again. Um, so yeah, there's so much there that you can bring to make it a really, really extremely comfortable experience.
Yeah, there is so many things actually, and so easy to overpack as well. Like for like
Yes.
I really like the minimalist style of packing, but like yeah, it's like any time when I'm going on a trip, I still overpack a bit, and then you go
Yeah.
like somewhere in the middle of the trip, you realize you have like items that you haven't used during the trip yet, and they're like for
Yeah.
that
And
moment.
then
I need them. Yeah,
there's the there is the part where if you bring it, then you don't need it.
yeah.
So, if you bring a tire repair kit, then you're not going to need it. And that's a good thing that you don't need it. If you don't bring it, I had it once. It's like, no, I'll leave it. I haven't had a puncture for so long. That's exactly when you get one.
You'll need it
So I
definitely.
am an overpacker as well. I like to be prepared, not only to help myself, but to help others as well. And then depending on who I travel with, I know certain people will forget things. So that means I will will make sure I'm
Yeah.
covering it all. I prefer to have a little bit more with me, as my bike doesn't care about it, than going too minimalistic. Often I've seen the minimalistic ones needing stuff from what I bring to fix their bikes or to adjust
Yeah.
something. Um, and I just like that roadside karma that I can get with that. That will keep me going. So I remember some Americans that I met on day 4 of my trip in southern Germany, and they were also on their way to Australia, but via Russia. And one of them had this coffin-like tent, like this uh,
Yeah,
beefy
I know what you
almost,
mean.
a little
Yeah.
bit bigger. And it was raining like crazy. Now, do that for a week, getting into totally wet tent with your wet gear, having to get
Yeah.
out of your stuff before you
And
get
it's
into
one
your
layer,
beefy.
yeah. It's one layer tent, yeah, yeah, yeah. So
So it takes the joy away. And I had, because I had it and I didn't have money to buy a new tent, I had a 3-person tent with me. So basically like a castle. I could sit there, make my coffee, and so, but that it showed me, yeah, it's a bit more weight and a bit more stuff, but I have to deal with that, and but I also deal with the comfort of that. So yeah, I do pack a lot of stuff. I do pack a lot of tools as well. I don't pack to be light. Uh, I like the idea, but if I don't have something with me, it frustrates me more than that I enjoy the being light. I'm not that good a rider, um, that I fly over everything, and I also don't want to. I heard a story of a guy that had been rallying in Morocco for I think 25 times, and now he went back with a slight injury, so he was just riding, and he's just like, wow, 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 wow. Was this always here? He had never seen it
yeah.
before because he was always just in the dust and racing and focused.
Yeah.
And I am that guy that just looks around all the time. And yeah, that's why I like being in the back as well. One, to help others, but also I just at my own pace and make sure I can look at everything.
Yeah. So, talking about packing, like the way how you pack things, do you use stuff sacks or do you like pack
Mm.
items loosely, like sleeping bags and things like that?
Yeah, I have my sleeping bag loose in the bottom because then I can compress it exactly into the shape of the bag.
Yeah.
So not in a stuff sack. It stuffs itself, like by putting stuff on top of it. You squeeze the air out of it. Of course, I have a down sleeping bag, so you can really compress it. Um, I just use some dry bags, thin dry bags for my socks, underwear, stuff like that. My shirts, so I can easily pull them out, color code it. That's basically what I do. But the tent is loose in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I do the same thing as well. Like I used to pack everything, like I bought many like stuff sacks and like very organized, color coded basically. Like, and I had so many like bags, and it's really hard to stick them in, especially like in a rackless system, like because it has its
Yeah.
own shape, and then like I would say like the pannier type of luggage is more square, so you can kind of like put square cubes like a
Yeah, it's
pannier shape.
easier. Yeah.
But with Reckless, like you just have the bags, and they have basically air gaps, and then the easiest way is just to put and it's actually faster and easier just to stuff
Yeah.
everything back in. And
So this is how you start a day, right? Like
yeah,
especially let's go to the Reckless system then. So I bring my Reckless, one of the Reckless dry bags in my tent. So in the morning I start with just deflating my mattress, my body weight will deflate it, and then I just start stuffing my sleeping
yeah,
bag in that bag. So the base of that dry bag is already filled and keeps its shape, and then it's easy to add things to it, and
yeah,
easy to slide it into the harness. Um, and all my camping gear, the soft camping gear, is on the bottom, so I can already have that done, and it's much faster to pack up your tent like that. And one thing that I also didn't mention then is okay, now I have that top bag free because my camping gear is distributed over my side bags and then the clothing on top of it. Um, Often people have their cooking equipment in a side bag, but if you crash, it's going to bend. So my cooking equipment, which is also expensive, I keep in my top bag together with my laptop, which I always have with me because I work on the road, and other expensive things. And if I need to leave the bike somewhere, that top bag becomes a backpack. That's the great thing of the Mosko stuff. But
yeah.
I bring that with me, so I don't have to worry about what they're stealing. If they're stealing my underwear, go ahead. But
Good luck over
likely they will not, you know.
there.
And then there's also the calculation of, okay, yes, the risk of getting a metal box on you that you can lock off and breaking your ankle. I find that the most important and most expensive part of our body
Yeah,
are the ankles and legs. So, you know, that sleeping bag, if that goes missing, that really sucks. How often does that happen? I think very rarely.
yeah. The chances.
Um, yeah, so I'll take that chance, you know. I
Yeah.
just bring the important stuff with me, and the rest I leave there.
By the way, how do you keep your laptop safe? Not like safe in a way from stealing, but safe away from vibrations. Do you have like, do you use
Mm.
sort of
I've
like,
always just used a bag with some extra cushioning in it,
yeah,
and I've never broken a laptop during my trip, never. So, and I did a lot of off-road, also in Australia with a lot of corrugations.
yeah,
Now we have these laptop sleeves at Moscow. There's new ones coming out. They will also be available in Europe, but they're padded and yeah, really protective. So that's something that I use now to slide into the backpack, and it's actually sitting against the back panel.
yeah,
So I can actually just pull the laptop out of that and not take the whole thing out and slide it back in without unpacking the whole bag to get to my laptop.
yeah.
So that's something, yeah, that you can use for that kind of travels
So you kind of keep it on the side of the bag, yeah? So it's inside the bag
against the back.
against
Yeah,
your back, yeah? So
yeah.
got it. I have
So and
always
you,
thought of taking a laptop with me, but I'm usually too scared to take it. I have like an expensive MacBook Pro, what I use
yeah,
for photography editing, and it's like two more
yeah.
than 2,000 euros to take with me, and yeah,
Yeah, but if it gives you the freedom to work on the road and
yeah,
to edit all your stuff on the road, like Australia, Killian was with me. He also has such a laptop, but he has that sleeve around it. Yeah, it's also life, right? I
yeah,
think if we live our lives in fear of stuff breaking, yes, stuff will break at some point.
yeah. Like most
And
of the
maybe we
case,
need to
kind of
insure it
not,
more.
but you know. There
Yeah.
is some, yeah, some occasions when it would be useful. So, talking about your previous travels, like what would be the three things that you took with you and that was useless for your trip?
Useless.
Like useless, like three things that you took on your trip and you'd never like you either use them just like a couple of times or you could
Yeah,
just
yeah, I feel you. It's a very difficult one because if you're on the road that long, you're going to use stuff. Um,
Did you throw out much stuff on the road? Was
no, some guys that I traveled with did that. They would have a winter sleeping bag, and then like after Nepal, it was all summery, and they chucked it out and got a summer sleeping bag. I don't know. I grew attached to my stuff and wanted to be prepared for all seasons, and I had the space anyway to bring it. Um, I think what no, I don't think there's anything that I didn't use. The crazy stuff that I brought, I always had an axe with me, um, like that. It helped me to put packs in the ground for my tent.
Yeah.
It helped me to chop wood for the fire. I bent back rims of other bikes, tubeless bikes,
Yeah.
tubeless rims. I bent them back because I hit a rock and they didn't have anything to do it with. So we used the back of the axe for that. It's also a weapon, so it gives you a little bit of a safe feeling when camping. Whether that's
Yeah.
just an idea or
I can
not
imagine the
doesn't matter.
situation of someone
It
like going
helps.
towards you and you're coming after him with an axe. Yeah. So
Exactly. So, but that's one thing that a lot of people made fun of, but unused as
yeah.
well. I had a Haynes manual with me, so the maintenance book of my old Africa Twin.
Yeah.
Now they're all digital, but back then not.
Is it like that?
Yeah, it's no a bit thinner, yeah, but still it's a book. So
Okay.
that's what I had with me. Wow, I I think I had too much clothing with me. That's something I could have been better at, but then I don't like doing laundry every night. Some people do that every night, and for 3 weeks you can do that, but
Yeah.
not if you're on the road nonstop. But some, oh, no, I don't think there was much. I chose to bring a big camera, and that thing I dragged around all over the place. And I noticed as well that made me that created a fear of losing it. You know, having that stuff, like you become a
Yeah.
caretaker of stuff, and you drag that camera everywhere. And nowadays, especially with iPhones, they're just
Yeah. The
great
quality
cameras. You know, it's
quality
so
is
why bring that big camera? And I know the difference. I mean, working with Kilian Moreno a lot, he brings a
yeah.
massive camera, and the pictures are just absolutely stunning. And he brings that expensive laptop to edit them and make them even better.
Yeah.
So I see the value in it, but for me personally, I don't see that value anymore. So that is something I would leave at home right now and just bring my phone.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and I think like if you don't do it professionally, then like there's no point of take like even if I work as a professional photographer, like during when I'm not riding my bike, and when I go on travels, I usually just take my iPhone most of the time. Like last trip, what I done, I took my camera with me. I thought I'm gonna take some pictures now. It's gonna be some pretty mountains and yeah, right. I took the camera out once, so yeah, the reality
Hmm.
it's much easier to get and like it's much easier to get better photos with your iPhone because you have it with you at the right moment. And usually, like the struggle to get the camera out of your bag, like if you take your camera, you have to just put it on
Yeah,
the clip mount somewhere on your backpack and just have it with you all the time, like so you can grab it. But otherwise, it's just a thing to carry along all the time and
yeah,
you use it.
exactly. Yeah,
So,
I remember buying that laptop back then in Australia
yeah,
because I thought I needed it, but it created so much worrying about losing it or someone stealing it. So in a way, it's best to travel just light,
yeah,
as in light without any really expensive gear aside from your camping gear.
yeah.
That's the best way to get around, so you don't worry too much about losing stuff.
So the complete opposite, like what are the three things that you missed on your travels? Like, was there anything that you were missing that you left at home, but you or what you bought on the way?
Whew. You could have sent this question to me, so I could have prepared that. I have no. Um, wow. Yeah. What did I? This has been a while, mate.
It can
Uh,
be on your recent trips as well. Like it can be things that you,
I think everything that what I did on my trip is if I needed to replace something,
yeah,
I like my three-person tent, which was like that big. Now I have a two-person bike packing tent, so bicycle packing tent, which is
yeah,
this big, including the poles. So if you replace something, if you spend money on it, spend money once on quality stuff that will make your experience better and will make you pack less, lighter. Um, I think that's the most important one, where you just buy quality gear that makes life on the road better. So better tools, for example. I started off with just a combined toolkit, and
yeah,
along the way, I figured out that if you have good tools, um, that just makes it more fun. to work on your bike and do your maintenance. Make sure they're accessible as well. So I keep them really easy to grab, not on the bottom of my bag, because then, I'll do it. I'll do it at the next gas station, and then tired. No, I'll do it tomorrow, and you postpone it, and
I know that
you know
feeling.
that's so, make that easily accessible, but also really tools. Now I have these Moto Hansa tools also from Australia. It seems
Yeah.
like this is all about Australia here, but
Yeah.
they're awesome, and they have multiple tools built into one, and that just makes it enjoyable to do maintenance on your bike. So I think that's important. Quality gear. I'm not saying you should wait with riding a motorcycle or traveling until you have all the gear that's perfect. No, just go. But once you replace something, replace it with really good stuff that makes you enjoy doing things. That applies to camping gear, to tools, to clothing as well, because there's a lot of technical clothing out there that just makes for a better experience. You can go with a cotton shirt and sweat, and
Yeah.
it stays wet for a long time, or you have a quick drying shirt, that is easy to wash and dry again next morning. That just makes life on the road better. So yeah,
Yeah, I think the key is like to have items that have multiple use, or they're like quick drying and like takes a lot less space and things like that. Yeah, like for me, like they changed my way of riding basically.
yeah, and
It's
that even
easy to
goes
get
for
back.
clothing. Like it's having clothing that is outdoorsy,
Yeah,
but is still adjusted for motorcycle. Like this jacket, like this is the heated jacket I'm wearing. You wouldn't say
yeah,
that it's just a puffy jacket, but it's
yeah.
heated as
This
well.
looks like a
And
regular jacket. Like yeah,
exactly, no one would say, "Oh, you're a motorcyclist."
yeah,
If you walk around with this in the forest, no one would think you're a
yeah,
motorcyclist. So I think that's also important, is to make sure that your clothing has multiple functions, because in normal adventure gear, you won't go walking around in that. But if you have comfortable clothing and you can take the protection out of it, like your body armor, off
yeah.
easily, then now you can walk around town as a normal tourist.
Yeah,
I hate
you
that
can
word.
pack less. Yeah, you can pack less, take less stuff. And so what would be the difference for you? Like when you would pack, like you packed on the road around the road trip, and what are the difference for overnighter or packing for like going around the world?
Yeah, around the world was just more clothing, making sure I could do everything. In the end, I just did top end jobs with the stuff, uh, engine jobs
Yeah.
with the stuff I had with me. So
Oh,
I
you
had a
had to
lot
do
of
it
tools
on the
with me.
road. You had to.
Yes, my Africa Twin has 360,000 kilometers on it now. So yeah, I did that. It's well with help of a mechanic in Australia. But making sure you have everything with you for working on your bike, being able to fix stuff, that was important then. And now I bring still a lot of tools, but definitely less.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. I brought a pan back then, like a proper pan, actually multiple in one, so it could actually cook a decent pasta, make a decent meal. And now, if I'm going for a weekend, I'll just bring my jet boil because it's smaller and faster. And I bring some dried meals, freeze-dried meals that are lighter. Um, and that will be my meal and they're so good nowadays as well. So, or even in Spain, where every village has a restaurant, I might not bring anything because, well, I still bring my jet boil for the coffee in the morning. That's important. I'll do the coffee.
Yeah.
No, it's, I might not bring a meal because I know I can get a meal everywhere in Spain, and I can go for breakfast from 6 o'clock in the morning in Spain in any cafe, and there will be good food. So adjusting to that as well. In the Netherlands, you couldn't do that, but yeah, here it's part of the culture to go out for dinner. They will be open till late. You might just pick something up and just bring it to camp and eat it there. So yeah, adjust to that. Yeah, I guess you could call it more minimalistic, but yeah, you don't need as much for 3 days
Yeah.
compared to a year long or multiple year long trip.
So, any other packing tips, basically, like what you like, if you have any other in mind? Like, obviously, you do these workshops during the events, yeah, like during the Outdoor Scout, you done the packing workshop basically,
You
and
guys made me do it. No,
yeah,
yeah, we do it
oh, you
actually
haven't done it
at
before,
the.
did it? That was the only option, the only chance to see you doing it, yeah, or
No, no, no. I did it
you
in
do it
Utrecht
regularly?
before. I've done it at the show in Utrecht as well in the Netherlands.
Yeah,
Normally, I just try to show people that there's different ways, and not necessarily the way we get taught by society,
yeah,
basically, because we all pack our camping gear in the top bag initially. That is not necessarily the best way. I think having liquids on the outside is for me essential. Like we have a new light luggage system or Alpine luggage system,
yeah,
which doesn't have the auxiliary pockets on the outside. I know there's a lot of people that like it because it's lighter. There's not much heavy hardware on it. It's yeah, it really keeps it light. But for me as a traveler, it feels like I'm missing the opportunity, the possibility to have my liquids on the outside and not on my back because I want my back to be free. Also because I might hurt my back.
yeah.
It's sensitive down there, so I want my liquids on the outside in a pocket, and I think that's an important one because sometimes you have people, oh, my water bottle broke in my bag. It's like, yeah,
A
that will
beer
never happen to
bottle,
me.
beer bottle. Yeah. So
Yeah, exactly. That there's still a risk of that happening to me because you buy the beer bottle and then you go find a camp spot.
yeah, or a
But
beer can just like goes, yeah,
yeah,
makes your all your stuff wet, or like even like engine oil. Like I have like
yeah,
I took a bigger duffel bag for my trip now, and twice on these during these 2 weeks I had like once my oil was leaking through my bag, like there was some leak. I don't know if that was the lid or something, and I
yeah.
had two beer cans rubbing it against each other or the tripod or something, and basically like
Yeah.
the beer was all over the place. So yeah, not
And then
cool.
this is the thing. So you should definitely keep the liquids on the outside. And I think that's
Yeah,
one of our the advantages of our beaver tails and multiple layered systems. Like you can go to the supermarket and you can put a whole shopping bag under the beaver tail of a
yeah,
backcountry duffel, for example, or under the Reckless 80 beaver tail on top of your bag. You can adjust it in size. So that way you keep that separate. And yeah, that's an important one for me. Keeping the tools easily accessible so you can
yeah.
work on things and it doesn't take you half an hour to fix something on the road. Um, but also, yeah, having equipment that allows you to adjust to circumstances and allows you to attach things to it that you need. So thinking a bit further ahead. And if you need a first aid kit, for example, in Scandinavia, you need to have the first aid kit visible on your luggage system on your bike.
That
So
a
ways,
requirement? Is that a requirement
yes,
for them?
I
Oh,
think it's actually a legal requirement, but you see them all have that. And I think that's such an important thing because we
yeah.
have a high risk sport. So let's make sure it is available and it's your kit to be used on you by your friends who are hopefully trained in first aid.
Yeah.
Um, if not, then make sure you all do that. No, I think it's important and just making it possible to attach it on the outside. And that was one of my frustrations with the boxes back then. Yes, you can screw a lot onto boxes, but there were limitations in the panniers I had. And that being able to adjust a luggage system to your needs. If you want to bring a shovel, everyone has their own crazy thing. I've seen a guy bring around a torque wrench this big on his trip, and he did not know how to use it. But if he had a problem and someone knew how to use it, then he had
Yeah.
it. And we can all make fun of it, but you know what? Everyone has their own little quirky
Weirdnesses,
thing
yeah.
that. What do you bring actually? What
What
is
do I
your
bring?
weird?
What is the weird? Oh man, that's a difficult question. Like probably the weird things seem normal to me. Like
Yeah, exactly.
I bring a saw, basically like not a chainsaw, but like it's like the chain from the chainsaw with the
Yeah,
handles. And yeah, but I haven't used it now. Like I just took it on this trip now, so I have it like with my other bike.
yeah,
But yeah, that was not really useful. Like you can always get the branches for like making fire and things like that. And I only took it in case of like if I have a fallen tree somewhere in the mountains and I need to go further, like if it's not a big one, but so I can remove the tree because I had that situation happen before in Bosnia or somewhere. Like I was going and oh yeah, yeah, it's the same. Yeah, yeah, the same thing. Yeah. So um What else? What else are my weirdnesses? I bring a lot of tools. I bring a lot of tools, but they're not really a weird thing. Yeah, that's about it. Like I think I have been pretty good for this trip. Yeah.
Yeah, the saw is a nice one. I think we see more and more people with that.
Yeah.
It's just yeah, if you get stopped on a trail, then
Yeah.
it's nice to get out. I've built a bridge actually with my colleague once over a tree that was like 3/4 of a meter.
Yeah.
So we used some other trees to roll the bikes over it. If I had a saw with me, I could have actually just cut the tree and keep going.
Yeah.
But you use the straps on the bags, from the bags to tie trees together to actually make a little bridge to go over that tree. So yeah, being able to be creative, yeah, I think is important. Yeah, and then I think what I was going at with the beaver tail as well, and the different layers. So, for example, the Reckless 80, the side legs, there's a dry bag in a harness, and that
Yeah.
means if you have a wet tent in the morning, and often it's wet, of course, because of dew, so you can just take that tent and just stuff it in between or under the beaver tail, not putting it with your dry stuff, making all of that
Yeah.
wet. Maybe your inner tent is still dry and you can pack that with your dry stuff. But having a spot where you can put a wet rain jacket or your flip flops until they are dry again, that is important as well, I think. And with the new tent materials, once the sun is out or it doesn't rain for a few minutes, that stuff dries so incredibly quick
Yeah.
that just having a place to store it temporarily while it's wet, I think it's important. You can also, of course, bring a dry bag for that and just put it with your dry gear. So just having that in mind is important, though, to make sure everything stays dry, and with that, your
Yeah.
trip is comfortable.
I usually dry stuff like even sometimes I dry clothing like on the beaver tail. I just put it there and like if it's sunny, then the clothing can dry over the day, like during the day. I just put it underneath or somehow attach it. Or the other thing what I do, I just put my rubbish like just in a normal shopping bag, basically like what I get from the store. I just put all the rubbish what I have and I just stuck it under there. So if anything is leaking from the rubbish, it doesn't yeah, doesn't make your stuff dirty. Oh yeah, there is actually one more thing that I remember from your workshop. Like I didn't see it all because I was like busy with like all the stuff there.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. I
Oh,
was
yeah.
busy with all the stuff there, and that like the only thing what I saw from your workshop, like not the only thing, but the most memorable thing was that you put the tire levers in the like basically through the molly attachment. Yeah,
Yeah. So
that was
again,
like I was like
it's
blown away. Basically, like it's I could never come up with a thing like that.
oh, I learned it from someone else as well. So
Yeah,
it's someone had them always on the bottom of a pannier through the molly
yeah,
system. This is why we have molly everywhere. Um, and someone had done that, and to secure them, they used a zip tie,
yeah,
um, because you don't need them that often, hopefully.
yeah, yeah,
And that's where I learned it, and that's how I use it now. They don't take space, so just having it easily accessible and not take space in your toolkit that then can be somewhere else.
yeah.
That's wwhy I had it there, I guess.
I think the things like that you always like you see someone doing it and it's like wow so cool and you start to do it yourself like I
Yeah,
still need to I just remember that thing now I need to do it for my bike because I strap my tire levers just to my bike with zip ties usually and when you need to get them it's pretty hard to get them out from there and it's much easier
yeah,
like just going through the molly with the tire lever and just one zip tie or like the Velcro strap or something and
yeah.
yeah
And then there's a chance they get stolen, but again, I think that depends on what you do. If you're just riding in cities, you also likely don't need the tire levers.
yeah
And if you're out there in the nature, then no one's going to take them from you.
yeah
So I think yeah,
yeah.
that's just we should have less fear of things being stolen, I guess, and just be more responsible with where do we put our motorcycles and how do we feel about that location. Just actually read the location and get a feel for if it's safe there or not. And I think that's something
Many
we've unlearned.
many times the places what we think are dangerous, they're more actually more safe than we think. Yeah. And
Yeah, exactly.
it can be opposite with like like if you go to the like safer countries, for example, as well, like sometimes they're not actually that safe. And you if you go to like Bosnia or places like that where you think it's like really it's gonna be really dangerous, it's actually the opposite. Like yeah, but you never know. You have to be like cautious and safe, and obviously. So going towards the end, I have one question from Instagram from Richard's Grunter from Arturo. Like,
Yeah,
so what is your personal favorite piece of gear from Moscow and why?
good one. I think it's no, I don't think I know. It's my backcountry duffel. It's just an amazing top bag, side entry, loading both sides, so you can easily get to your stuff. It's really, really tough. Many layers of material, ballistic nylon on the outside, so it can really take a beating and rubbing and everything. And it becomes a quite comfortable backpack. So I can go shopping with that. I can walk around with that all day, no problem with my stuff in it. It has a beaver tail on it, so I can put my shopping under it, or my wet tent, or another bag that someone wants to bring. It's endlessly expandable, basically,
Yeah,
within reason, and it has so many purposes, so many different ways of using it. Yeah, it's the 30-liter version of it is even official carry-on size. So I basically have that with me
do you
everywhere.
fly with
It's
that bag?
extra.
Do you usually
Yeah,
like if you go to like another country,
yeah,
do you take that bag as and fly with that, and you have
yeah,
like
exactly,
all the stuff?
exactly. Yeah, that and then on the bike with the backcountry panniers, it's basically it's you put that one on the back and the panniers in your hands, so you walk into your hotel or to your tent
Yeah.
in one go.
And you have all the expensive stuff in there, like your laptop and everything. So
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So I can always take it with me. If I want to stop in the city, like I live not too far from Barcelona, I just take that back with me and I don't worry about it. So yeah, that is definitely my favorite piece of equipment. Yeah.
Okay. So and another question that is from me personally. From me
Oh my
personally,
God.
basically, yeah, like all the questions were from me, but yeah, this one especially, like one bike that you could buy and keep forever, basically, like any bike, it can be new or old bike, but like something that you would buy and keep in your garage forever.
I have quite a few bikes right now. Um, if I had to pick one, my travel mindset is just there. I can't change that anymore. So if I had to pick one, it's a bike that I can travel around the world with. That always was the old Honda Africa Twin, the 750. But right now it's the Yamaha T7. Um, I think it's the most reliable engine right now. It's good size. It can do highway really well, but it can do off-road really well as well. For me, that's my go-to bike. And if I would have to go on a world trip again right now, that would be the motorcycle I'd take. Yes, there's a few things you want to adjust to that. It's definitely a very capable off-road bike, but still with a lot of street functions on it because most people will only ride it at street. Like the position of the exhaust is just not optimal for off-road riding. So change that for a high exhaust. There's plenty of brands out there that do that. You can put some better suspension in it for sure. Important one actually. The wheel bearings can be replaced for better ones, but then you have a bike without too much technology on it. So
Yeah.
basically ABS on, off. Um, so that all can break all the other features. So this is
Yeah.
for me the thing with all the technology, and I won't call brands there, but having an anti-wheelie mode built in somewhere in the background, and that stops the bike while you go an up or steep hill and you crash because of that kind of stuff for me is just no,
Yeah.
absolutely not acceptable, even though safety standards demand that. And this is what I love about the T7. It's just so
It's simple.
simple. You can bypass the ABS even if you would want to. Um, and then you just have the perfect travel bike that can do everything.
I was actually thinking that you're gonna pick a more sentimental bike like your old one, but yeah.
Well, I will never sell my old Africa Twin.
Okay.
It's a great bike, and again, it doesn't have all that technology on it, and that's what I like about that bike. For
Yeah.
traveling, it can't break, and you can fix it yourself. Um, but these really old, reliable bikes, they're still becoming old now. So there's like rubber parts that are wearing out that need to be replaced. And with my current lifestyle, I just don't have a lot of time to work on bikes while traveling. I
Yeah,
had
it's
time,
it's
and
more like a
I could
project
just
bike. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So that was all good, but now I don't have the time. So if I have time to ride, I want to ride and not have to work on my bike. And that's why right now I would not go for an older bike like that. It's just more convenience to have a new bike with a really reliable engine.
Cool. Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
So plans for the next year?
Well, there's only one thing is set now. Outdoor, no. There's going to be a lot of events, so we'll be all over Europe again with the Moscow team. I think we have like 12 events in the first 3 months of the year. And then we're looking at the summer schedule, so outdoor definitely part of that. We'll do
Cool.
some events in Scandinavia as well, so mostly Sweden, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, and then we're looking at bringing the Dusty Lizard, which we organized in the US. So really a camping, riding event, just being outdoors with fellow riders, with like-minded riders.
Yeah.
We are hoping we can bring that to Europe this year. So yeah, stay tuned for that.
It's gonna be
Um,
based like in which country?
yeah, well, let's keep that a secret right now.
Okay.
Let's first figure that out, and then we'll make some noise about that.
Yeah.
What else? Yeah, hopefully spend a little bit more time at home so I can ride in my backyard. Wouldn't mind having a trials bike here as well to
Yeah.
hone my off-road riding skills and my balancing skills as well. So that's something that I look forward to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And any products that are coming out that you can't tell me about yet?
No, no, we are a very open company.
Yeah.
We basically share our design ideas before we come out with it, and there's companies that actually use that and then are like, okay, then we can develop that too. But yeah, one thing that is going to come in next year is our Reckless 60, which is going to be a lighter version, so less layers. So for those people that want to go light, but bring a bit more than a Reckless 40 because it can be restrictive, as in what can I bring? I love the light around you, man. It's just really like
Yeah,
that
it's like
aura is
magical,
beautiful. It's
magical
yeah.
vibes.
So yeah, the Reckless 60 Trail is what should be coming mid next year. So right between the Reckless 40 and the Reckless 80, that is something that we really look forward to bring to market, as a lot of people have asked for something like that. And then my own brainchild is our hood tail bag. So basically like a hood tank bag, which is basically a top with a lid over it. So no
Yeah.
zippers that can fail, because if we ride off-road, we have a lot of dust and dirt and zippers will fail. And that tail bag is basically going to be helmet size. So just you can leave it on the back of your bike, do shopping in it, but it will also have photography organization in it. So you can just have your
Yeah.
lenses, your drone, all that stuff in it. You can really adjust it to your needs. So an instructor can use it for his cones, his first aid kit, all the stuff he needs during a training. Very versatile bag that we're bringing out this year, next year as well. And that's what I'm really looking forward to.
And that can be used also like a rally pack, yeah, basically like you just put like it's a small one, or that's like some.
No, that one's going to be a bit bigger, the first one, but that's going to be likely the first one of many different sizes. So yes,
Okay.
ideally we would have a 3 and a 5 liter version of that, so you can really just put your tube in it, some tools,
Yeah.
that what you need during a rally. That is definitely in the back of our minds to bring more of that stuff out. Yes.
Cool, cool, cool. So thank you for talking to me, and yeah, hopefully see you
Thank
at
you.
the Scouts Festival, yeah, next year.
Oh, I hope before that, we'll be around. We hope we'll see
Yeah.
you at one of the events in Europe.
Yeah,
We're
maybe
thinking
the
about
Dusty Lizard. Maybe Dusty Lizard.
that. If we do that, I expect you there. So
Okay.
better stay tuned for that one, mate. No, good. Well, thank you for having me, and yeah, hope to see you again soon.
Yeah.
And yeah, wish everyone good luck with winter out there, and
Yeah.
keep riding.
And before we finish off the recording, like, can you tell me your Instagram or like where people can follow you? Like, many, like anyone knows how to find Moscow. Yeah, Moscow.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm not always that active on Insta. I try, but yeah, it is a hit and miss with my Instagram, but it's a rule of the road. So yeah, that's the Instagram handle. I normally post about my tour to Nepal there,
Yeah.
which I do every year. But I'm trying to keep up with it more. It's just not something that comes to me naturally. But yeah, we can
Cool.
get a bit of an idea of where I'm riding.
So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, check out my other episodes. Also, if you want to get involved in this podcast, follow me on Instagram, because I'm posting a story every time before I record an episode, and you can send in your questions. That's all for now, so see you at the next one.